Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about how all of these slasher television series have one major problem, one huge flaw, and they don't seem to correct it, and then they get canceled. If they probably would have corrected this one factor, they might have had a little bit chance of staying on a little bit longer. So what is this flaw that many of these slasher shows have? Now, I love slasher movies. I grew up with them in the late 90s and stuff, in my teen years and stuff. And so over the past couple of decades, they're making now slasher television shows, and some are based on the IPs of these movies. Some of the bigger, more major ones, like Friday the 13th, has now been shelved. Probably for the better, because they probably would have fell into this same flaw and everything. But you have slasher television shows like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, from these major IPs, and then you also have Pretty Little Liars, Original Sins, or Summer School, whichever way you want to go, because both seasons are called different things. Who takes the IP from the original Pretty Little Liars television show. And so the thing about the movies is that because it's a slasher movies, somebody's gonna get slashed. Somebody is going to die. And most importantly, it's gonna be the main cast, leaving only your final girl, your final guy, and maybe a few of the original cast, or the main cast, I should say. So for the most part, you'll have anywhere between 1 to maybe 3 or 4 people living, right? And because that's the nature of a slasher movie. However, on the slasher television shows, this formula doesn't seem to matter to them. And that right there is a major flaw that these television shows that are slashers have. Now, I haven't seen every slasher television series. I've only seen a few. But when I'm talking about an actual slasher show, I'm talking about one where you have a killer who wears a costume and parades around trying to kill teens and stuff like that. And so I'm not talking about true crime type stuff or nothing like that, nothing dexterous or nothing, nothing like that. And so the problem is, like I said before, the main cast. The showrunners just can't part ways with the main cast, and that is a major problem going forward with all these slasher television series. They don't last long, but their main cast do and everything. And so, for examples, I'm gonna give you just Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Pretty Little Liars, Original Sin, and maybe the actual television show Slasher, which I highly praise and recommend watching the first 3 seasons on Netflix and just skip the last 2 that's on Chiller because they're not that great. Anyway, so the thing about a slasher movie is that when you make that first movie, you have no idea if it's gonna make a sequel. So you always try to make the best out of that first one. And the best way you can make a slasher movie a hit is you gotta slash, you gotta kill, you gotta show that blood, you gotta show that gore, and you gotta be original with it and stuff. And so they kill off a good chunk of their cast, only leaving a few left. So when they get that sequel, they're like, all right, fine, we'll just create a brand new cast and everything and start killing them off. But the important thing is you have to kill off your main cast members. You got to make them likable, or you have to make them so disgusting, that you want to see them get off. So if they're disgusting, you want to see them get off. If they're likable, then you're like, oh man, I feel so bad that person died. I'm feeling the weight of that kill. And it's like, it stays with me after all these decades of this person leaving. Like Randy from Scream 2. People are still upset about that. That is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You got this likable character, you killed them off, and fans have been upset ever since. And so, say you got somebody like Tatum from the Scream movie. She's disgusting in nature because of how rude and nasty she is, but she's likable in the fact that she's hilarious and stuff. So you can go either way with that. And, you know, also, oh, I know what you did last summer with what was her name? Helen? People thought till this day she should have survived and everything because she was a very likable character. And Sarah Michelle Gellar was really big doing Buffy around that time. People thought she was going to survive and did not. And it pissed me off that Carla survived, and I still know what you did last summer when her character was super annoying. And so, but yeah, you know, even though it sucks to kill off that character you like so much, sorry about that, my camera died. Okay, where was I? Was I talking about, I know what you did last summer? Anyway, the Sarah Michelle Gellar killer. It sucks she died and everything, but she was such a likable character. You really rooted for her to live, and when she died, it broke your heart. And it's just one of those things that it stays with you, and it stays with you for a very long time. You know, that's the perfect thing about a slasher movie. Now, television. Hey, I get it. You know what I'm saying? A television show has a different format. You know, it's structured very differently than that of a television series. That TV show has to go on for many seasons and stuff. So you have to keep your cast alive, but you don't gotta keep everybody alive. And because the thing about the difference between, like, you know, I've said this before about slasher movies and slasher television shows is that the slasher television show always feel more like a YA novel type show. It has the format of a teen drama and everything. It has different type of character development and just like, you know, whatever. But the problem is with like these three shows, I know you did last summer, Scream and Pretty Little Lies Original Sins. The problem is the main cast survives to the end of the series once it gets canceled. If there are no stakes, if there is no emotional attachment, and there's no emotional pain that you feel, then the show is pointless and everything. And you go through every season being like, okay, well, nobody's gonna die of significance, so why the heck should I care? Why should I stay in? Why should I continue watching it? If the writing isn't that good and the acting isn't that good and the character development isn't that good, why the heck should I even stay? And that is a major flaw with that of, like, you know, these slasher television shows. They do not want to take stakes because fans are invested in their favorite characters, but in a different way. They're there for eye candy. They're there because they see themselves in that person. They like this character because it's shipping. And the showrunners all like, oh, we don't want to anger our fans. Like, you know, they love these characters. And you know what? We love working with these people. We just can't bear to see these people go. And that is a problem. You need to have some balls and chop some people, you know what, sauce. They need to leave that show. They need to adios themselves, you know what I'm saying? Like, keeping them around season after season is going to basically make them, like, you know, indestructible, like Superman. You know, there's no kryptonite on these shows, so he ain't gonna die and everything, you know? And because look at some of the cast and everything, like the main cast. Scream, season 1 and 2. Season 3 is its own entire thing. Season 1 and 2, this is your main cast. It is enormous and everything. And these people survive all the way from season 1 to season 2, and after season 2, that TV movie. What in the world, man? Like, this is too many people to leave left standing. And the people they did kill off are either characters that have no significance whatsoever to this show, because they were just some random person, like probably like at the house or a building or walking down the street, and for whatever reason the killer wanted to kill that person. And then I've said this before, they only killed off the recurring cast members who happen to be love interests, who happen to be people of color. And so in Scream, that was the only people who died, like a couple of random girlfriends and stuff. That is it. Yeah, we like those characters, but it was kind of fishy because they were people of color, and then everybody else who you see alive looks a certain way. But then season 3, like I said, was a little bit different. They tried to be more like the movie. They tried to kill more people off, but like they still left a good chunk of them alive. They killed the killers, of course. They killed the one dude of color. Well, actually, they killed 2 dudes of color. But this show was diverse in a way. But they killed off one gay dude, and they killed off this other guy who was a love interest. And they kept all the other ones completely alive, and it's just kind of like, whatever, you know? I Know What You Did Last Summer, I wouldn't even call that a slasher show. It was just stupid, man. It was the biggest YA novel type thing I've ever saw. The entire main cast survived. Only one of the twins died because they had to, because, you know, this is the whole, oh, hey, I know what you did last summer. You had to kill somebody off in the beginning of the movie with the car and everything. They killed the gay dude off by like the beginning of the 2nd episode, so he was even like a character in, like, you know, the show, because nobody even got to know him. The black girl in the show, they supposedly killed her off halfway, so you assume she's dead, but then they apparently froze her body, and you find out she's alive at the end of the series. So it's like, well, what the heck, man? You didn't even kill her off, and how the heck did she survive? I went into a whole rant about that years ago. Just go find that video. And so, like, everybody that's a main cast member survived. A couple of parents died, a couple of random people died, and that's about it. And because this show sucked in its writing so bad and everything, then nobody cared if those people died or not, because the show was so lackluster and stupid. Then you got this so-called reboot, so-called continuation of Pretty Little Liars, because they can't make up their mind which one they want to be. And so, once again, we have a huge main cast, a huge recurring cast, and hey, guess what? Everybody survives, except for one twin who was just like a terrible person. Of course, like, you know, the killer died, and, well, not the killer, but one of the bad dudes died who did an awful thing. He died, supposedly, but then he died the next season. So let me explain a little bit. The original Pretty Little Liars was about like a random person who knew these group of people and started stalking them. And it was mysterious, and they wore like a hoodie and made the girls' lives miserable because they knew all the lies the girls told and kept blackmailing them. It was a really good show until halfway the showrunner just screwed it up. Anyways, they decided to reboot it and make it more into a slasher type thing. So in the first season, we had one slasher that's more like the 80s slasher, a big bulking guy with a knife and a mask and just like a pea brain and everything who's not really smart. And so this one girl died about 10 years ago, and so her family members wanted revenge. Well, instead of getting revenge on her actual friends who treated her like crap and everything, the killer decides, hey, I'm gonna go after your kids instead. Why? Because Roberto thinks he's a genius. And Roberto is the showrunner. And he is no genius. The dude who created Riverdale and the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. You are no genius. Anyway, so the killer goes after the kids instead of going after the parents. But then the killer also goes after the parents at the end of the series, only to tie them up and threaten the girls. Hey, we're going to kill your parents and everything, but we're going to kill you too and everything. Why are the girls like being attacked? Nobody really knows. But anyways, so you do have some people who die in the first season. It's not much, but they do die. But guess who don't die? The main cast doesn't die. The recurring cast, who are their parents, do not die. Their love interests do not die. And the boy who did something really despicable did not die. Then comes the second season, which is now still in production. And the third episode just aired just last night. Or just yesterday, I should say. And in the first episode, a couple of recurring characters that were and from the first season just die off within the first couple of seconds of the show because they wanted to wrap things up and have a different cast. Still leaving our main girls like alive and their parents still alive. And that one twin girl who's alive, Kelly, who's just in her own little world in this show, who has no significance to the plot so far of the second season. She did in the first, but not the second. And so once again, we have a show with an overstuffed cast that is alive and nobody of significance is dying. Now, this season is just the most random people who aren't even real characters in the show. Their background characters are just dying left and right. And it's like, why? I don't care about that person. And this is a problem that all these thinking shows have. Now, let's get into the actual slasher show that's just called Slasher and everything. A Canadian show. And every season, guess what happens? This is an anthology series. So you have a couple of the same actors playing different roles, and sometimes you have new people, just, whatever. Guess what? Every season, they kill everybody off, except for maybe 1 to 2, 3, 4 people at most. In the first season, 2 people survived. In the second season, 1 person survived. In the third season, 2 people survived. In the fourth, 1 person survived. And in the fifth, about 3 or 4 people survived. But the main cast got axed and everything. And that's how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to get us to like these people, and then you're supposed to off them off and everything. And that is a problem that this show gets. Like, it gets, hey, we have to kill these people off and everything. And, you might like them, but who the heck cares? Because now you have a reason to call this an actual real slasher. Even The Walking Dead in the beginning seasons figured that out. You'll have a main cast member you really, really liked, and every season somebody got killed. You was heartbroken, you was pissed off, but that was the point. You took those risks, you took those chances, and it made the show better. The show started sucking when everybody started to stay alive. And then, they're like, oh crap, we ain't killed nobody off in a while, so let's just kill somebody off. And of course, it pissed a lot of people off. And then they went back to not killing people off again. And so, if you have a show that deals with death, it deals with slashery type stuff, you gotta off people and stuff. That's just how a slasher works. Even like Scream Queens kinda got that and kinda didn't. They started killing characters off that was recurring. So I'm like, okay, cool. But then they left the main cast alive. Not cool. Then you got the second season and they still survived. And they wonder why they got canceled. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.